Well, the sports editor is really grateful to chat to up-and-coming rugby star and Sacha Mngomezulu. Really great to have you on the show. Sacha, thank you so much for your time. But it's been a busy year for you, I'd say, but good thing it's been all about rugby.
Yeah, no, 100%. Thanks for having me firstly, Ryan. Appreciate it. But yeah, it's been a very busy year, but good busy. Rugby is always a good busy to have. And I think when you're doing something you love like rugby, it doesn't seem to make you feel like you're busy, more just like you're occupied, which is very nice. And I think I'm just enjoying just being busy, because that's something our age group especially lacked in the last last year or so, year and a half. So it's kind of a privilege. It's proven not to be a right to be busy. So I'm just grateful.
Yeah, and just touch on that quickly. Like you said, it's almost like we missed out a whole year of rugby. So I'm sure you're grateful to actually put your skills to the test again and show what you're capable of doing.
100%. I think it was a bit people are uncertain about themselves, myself especially. Not knowing how we would kind of come back into the rugby sort of into the frame set of rugby again. But it's proven easier than we probably thought for most people, including myself. So I'm just happy it's been able to take off in the right way, and it hasn't been too much of a halt on our rugby.
No, for sure. But you've been busy with the under-20 Provincial Championship with Western Province and 66 points in the tournament. Happy with those numbers?
Yeah, I think I am. But the games are very small margins, and I feel like I could have maybe put more points in some games, especially the final. I mean, we lost out by 1 point, and I missed one kick, which is 2 points.
Sure.
So I'm happy with 66, but also being 19, I've definitely set new goals. So I've already set my new goals for next year, and 66 is about halfway there. So yeah.
Oh, there we go. Something to aim for. Excellent. But you mentioned 1 point, and that was always a game against the Lions, a tough game. And you said that you missed the kick by 2, but what sort of goes through your mind? Do you feel quite, I don't know, hard on yourself? Does the coach pull you aside and say, what, that's just how the game goes? Talk us through the emotions. What actually happens there, Sacha?
I mean, as everyone knows, a rugby game is 80 minutes, and the coaches will never be too hard on like an individual, or the squad members won't be too hard on an individual, because it's one piece of an 80-minute game. But at the end of the day, when you the guys miss the kick, you know what you could have done, and it falls on yourself personally. But I guess that's just where your standards are set. And for me, I take that one on the chin, and I feel like I let down the team. But we obviously let ourselves down in a lot of areas of the game. So it might not have just been my fault, but directly missing out on 2 points, I put that on myself.
Oh, Sacha, but I think there's lots of rugby to come from you. And I think there's going to be lots of good moments where you're going to be the man that the team goes to. So I think it's all about a building, a learning curve, I'd say. It's a tough one to take, but
I think it is very important to learn. I mean, that's what junior rugby is all about. It's about prepping yourself to be equipped to play at a good level for seniors at a consistent level and make less mistakes. So it's all part of the learning process, and I'm happy to learn. But yeah, it obviously sucks a bit in the moment.
But flyhalf, normally a position that everyone wants to run straight into, but I think that's a position that it has genuinely come naturally to you, hasn't it?
Yeah. I started off as an inside centre, more of a ball carrier, and I got a shot at flyhalf, and I fell in love with it. It's nice, you control the tempo of the game, and I've also had, I've been very fond of football. I used to play a lot of football, so flyhalf's probably the closest position to playing football with the kicks and stuff. So I've always been. I was immediately drawn to it from the first second I played.
But definitely, it's so interesting to see as the years go on and the game of rugby seems to change. I'd say that number 10 is also changing because you've got some fantastic hands. You mentioned soccer. You're also brilliant at doing those little kick-throughs and things like that. It adds a different dynamic to the team and your game. What didn't you say? Being able to do those tricks, I'd say.
100%. I think everyone brings a different piece of the pie to a team. And I think it is nice to have an effect on a game with your particular skill set, which is something each individual works on, because you want to have your own impact on the game in terms of benefiting the team. And I think my strengths, especially Western Province, play well with the heritage of the rugby, with a bit more ball in hand. But I think just being able to add your own stamp on the game is very important.
For sure, definitely. Talking about making a stamp, and at school you attended at Bishop's. I think your coach was maybe just a little bit happy with your performances.
Yeah.
Did your school and your coach allow you to sort of grow into your own game and do what was probably best for you, so that you could actually bring the best out of your own game as well?
Yeah, I think Bishops, unlike a lot of schools, is very unselfish with the way they operate with their players, and they do want the best for you, and they want you to express yourselves. Before every game, a Bishops boy is told to express themselves,
Right.
and I think that's where the fun of schoolboy rugby comes into it. There's less stress. It's not a job. It's a hobby. It's fun, and I feel like that's just a complete blessing, because when you get to past under 20s, it becomes a job, and you have to start following certain structures. So I think that freedom they give you, it gives you time to find yourself as a player, and I think that's just super important, because when you get up to the seniors and whatever, you need to know yourself before the other people do.
Yeah, it's sort of like a fascinating combination in my eyes, because they've obviously got all their history and heritage, and they want to play the Bishop's brand of rugby. In the same breath, they're allowing you to do what you do. So how they actually mix those two together and make it work is very interesting. I don't know, maybe you can shed a little bit light as to how they manage that, because there's obviously a game plan that you have to follow. But in the same breath, they want you to do what you do. How do they sort of get it right, in your opinion?
Yeah, I just think they go well about a good team's a happy team, and happy teams usually a good team. So it's that that it doesn't, they try and make rugby as little stress as possible. It's more like at practice we're doing ball skills, stuff you enjoy doing, and it builds this happiness for the sport. And when you're happy and you're happy with your coaches, that's the most motivation you can have to go around out on the field and do your best. And I think the results correlate well with that, the freedom and the mutual respect there is between coaches and players to enjoy the game.
Ah, very good, Sasha. Brilliant. And yet to tell me, Bishops, that they actually allow you to kick in open play.
Yeah, it didn't go down so well in the beginning, but like when we were like grade 8, it was quite frowned upon to go for posts and stuff. And my grade, I'd have to say, especially started changing that dynamic a bit. Taking shots at goal, kicking the ball more out of hand. So by the time we got to first team, it didn't come as a shock to the school, to the coaches. They kind of understood that part of our game. And I also feel like it's just, it's moving on with the game. Like, running rugby is great, but, the teams that kick the most and have the most territory these days in modern rugby win most games. So
you can even see it with the Springboks. Yeah, the game of rugby is changing a hang of a lot. But yeah, you've got to stay relevant to the times. So yeah, it's an interesting combination. But you mentioned kicking there, and I've heard from your coach, Wes Chetty, that you really put in extra hours, and you'd be the one just kicking for poles, kicking for poles, kicking for poles. Self-discipline, that's the word that came to my mind when I heard that story. Is that something that you also work on quite a bit? Is just being disciplined and working at something until you've got it right?
Yeah, I think that's the toughest thing at our age. But also, if you get it right, it shows the most. And I just think I just want to be a successful rugby player, and I wanna be able to do a good job on the weekend, and just putting in a few hours, during the week is just a sacrifice you have to make. And that's the difference between being successful and not being successful. So yeah, I enjoy putting the extra work, because eventually it pays off. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like yeah, sorry.
No, I'm just saying it's what you got to do.
Yeah, it's an old formula that works time and time again, but hard work is hard. No one seems to like it, but it's necessary. But yeah, it's awesome. Like we mentioned earlier about the 66 points, that's going to convert to 132, and you'll see it really will turn into good things. So hard work, big believe in it. So you must keep going. But there's lots of good derbies and lots of good fixtures, and we always talk about Western Province schools rugby and how awesome it is, etc., etc. And really, really good schools out there. But your biggest derby or fixture that you enjoyed the most at school level, which one was it?
On paper, I should probably say Bishops vs Rondebosch, because that's what we talk about since grade 3. But the one fixture that comes to mind for me, that especially, was Bishops vs Wynberg on the Piley, and we had 12 out of 15 grade 11s, because there was a disciplinary problem with the matrics. So we weren't supposed to win that game, and we beat them, which was amazing. But yeah, Bishops vs Rondebosch is the most iconic game. I mean, there's nothing better than a couple thousand people, at your home ground, watching a derby on SuperSport. So, I mean, that will probably be the number one, but my favorite game was definitely Bishops vs Wynberg.
Oh, that's good to hear. Very, very good to hear. And Sasha, it's great, because there's there's a bit of expectation from a Bishop's point of view in the sense that they've produced so many old boys that have gone to represent South Africa, whether it be rugby, cricket, water polo, whatever it may be. Is there a bit of sort of pressure from that aspect of like, I'm wearing the Bishop's badge, I've got to carry on and make it at the next highest level? Is it a bit of pressure? Maybe you put on yourself or from the community? What happens there?
I think, there's definitely pressure. I mean, everyone knows you kind of have to leave the jersey in a better place than you found it, which is cliche, but it is the saying that I respect the most. I think it's from the All Blacks. So yeah, I mean, there is always an added pressure to be better than the last person, or to be as good and put the jersey in a better place, or bring something different to the team, whether it's culturally or from a sporting aspect. There's always a way to leave the jersey in a better place, and I think it is very important. And there is a bit of a pressure to do that, but I don't think guys really, you don't think about it consciously, but when the team comes together, everyone wants to do great and be great.
But actually, you have done well. You got picked for the S under 20 side, and that's no minor feat. And I'm sure when you got the call up, you thought, well, okay, so here's some evidence of hard work. You must have enjoyed the tournament, and it's always interesting playing against some South American sides. But how did it go for you, generally speaking? The tournament, that is. Sorry.
It was a massive eye opener. I think I've never, we jumped straight from grade 11 first team rugby, didn't really have a matric, and then straight into the deep end with Junior Box. But I think it was a great test, and also a massive eye opener just in terms of the level of rugby. The size of players, the tempo, the fitness. It was a massive eye opener. It was amazing, to be honest, and I'm just so grateful I got a sniff at that this year, because I feel like I'll be much better equipped for it next year.
Right.
But that's an invaluable experience, 100%.
That's good, and I think that, like you said, you had a bit of a sniff at it this year, but it goes to show that it's almost like a dangling the carrot sort of thing. So you've done well for Bishops, Western Province. A lot of talk about Western Province, you staying, etc. We'll touch on that just now. But then you're obviously going to represent South Africa, and you're thinking, well, that's a stepping stone for playing in the junior box. Did you see that as well? That if I can do well at this level and keep it through, if I keep being consistent, hey, who knows what happens next?
100%. I'm a very, I love setting goals, and it's always the next step forward. So I think when you are like ticking boxes like Bishops, your next step is Craven Week, and then after Craven Week, your goals keep going further and further, and it's amazing to watch yourself, improve and excel. And I think just one step at a time, just achieving the next and doing the next stepping block. Eventually, you'll get to where you want.
I hope. I hope that a lot of young people that are aspiring to become Springboks that it is literally one step at a time. There's no shortcut. So that's great, and I really brilliant what you're saying. But now you have made your debut for the Western Province senior side, and that must have been another interesting occasion for you. I'm sure butterflies and all that, but it's good because it means something to you. That's the way I see it. How do you sort of manage those expectations where you've made SA20, now you've gone to Western Province, and other guys are saying, okay, here's this young gun, let's see what he's made of. How do you manage those expectations?
Yeah, it's tough, but it's not something you really think about. But I have to say, you only, when you play junior box and you're in the mix and whatever, you don't really realize how big it actually is, because that's just your team, that's your teammates, that's your coach. But once you start stepping out of it and you finish and you're labeled as the junior box flyhalf and whatever, you can kind of see the importance on that. So it does add a bit of pressure, obviously, when you're making your step up to seniors. But I mean, it's a great pressure, because you feel content with yourself. You feel content with you're supposed to be on that field. So just carrying out what you think's right it makes life a lot easier.
Nah, definitely. That's awesome, Sacha. And may I ask, what was sort of the deciding factor to join Province, or is it just this is home? This is just where you feel you belong at the moment?
I think it was I had quite a few interests from overseas. As I have a passport, obviously, so there's a lot of pressure to leave. But I found myself in a situation where this is my childhood team. I've watched Newlands, I've watched Stormers at Newlands, I've watched Province at Newlands. It's always been something I've wanted to do and something I've been about. And I wouldn't want to leave Cape Town and and look back and think, what if I had stayed? So I'd rather just, stay here, whether it be the right or the wrong option, proving to be the right option for me at the moment. But, I'd rather leave here knowing I tried than, trying to, look back on the past and wish. So that was
Awesome.
my deciding factor, yeah.
No, that's awesome, Sacha. That's brilliant. Well, we're very happy that you're here. Tell you that now. So that's good. Because I'm really looking forward to the Rugby Championship continuing, with Ospreys and all those other European sides that are joining there. It's an interesting league. Looking forward to that happening again quite soon. But who was your rugby model? Who really stood out for you and inspired you to do what you've done?
I've never really been about like role models, but like I do definitely have people I look up to, in the sense of what they've achieved. Someone obviously so close to Province, Damien Willemse, for instance. I mean, the timeline at which he's achieved things. I mean, he made his Springbok debut 2 years out of school. He's playing Super Rugby year after school. So, trying to follow his path and take a leaf out of his book is definitely something I've tried to do. I wouldn't say he's my role model, but he's definitely someone I aspire to achieve in similar time brackets.
No, that's excellent, Sacha. And as a sort of draw towards an end, I know we've spoken about rugby and what's happening, but what is on the cards next for you? What's happening in your busy life?
So hopefully I'll be joining the Stormers squad in the next week or so, and then hopefully I'll get a shot at some stage. But I've just got to stay patient because it's been quite a fast year, so it must become a habit that it's so fast. I need to realize that it will slow down eventually. But I think I just stay patient and wait to maybe make a break in that URC squad. And then hopefully get a couple minutes in the Currie Cup, and then if there's a Junior World Cup next year, that's what I'd love to do. Yeah.
No, awesome, Sacha. That's brilliant. And final question: are you going to be studying anything, or what? Are you interested in studying something at the moment, or are you going to put that off for a while? What are your moves?
I was going to study this year, but things didn't really go according to plan, which proved to be a blessing because I was so busy. But I'm probably not going to go the usual UCT or Stellies route next year. I'll probably go through UNISA.
Right.
Because obviously rugby is very time consuming.
Yeah.
So something like online learning could be very beneficial to me. So I feel like that's probably going to be my way forward for now.
Yeah, dude, I was studying through UNISA. When you're working and studying, it's difficult, but you'll crack it. You work hard, so you'll sort yourself out. Don't worry. Sacha, you've been a class act. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much, Ryan.
You're a legend, dude. Have a lovely evening.
Thanks, man. You too.
Cheers, man. Bye bye.
Cheers, Ryan.